Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UGA Sports Call-In Show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, joined alongside Ben Choppy Bachmann, which I think he's got his speaker on over there on one thing, so I don't know, maybe. But we've got Ben Bachmann with us, the UGASports.com, and guys, pleasure to be back on here with you. Sounds like we've got some feedback. Ben, can you check check to make sure you're muted on Zoom? I think you are. It sounds like we got a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. So, guys, appreciate you joining us here on this Sunday night. Just a few more weeks until Georgia football. Just a few more weeks until Georgia football, guys. And, then we're going to be live talking to you about the games. But until then, we're going to be talking to you about this Georgia high school football. It started up this week. Big week one. Big matchups between teams like Buford and North Cobb. Also Rabun versus Jefferson. The Starks versus Stockton game, if you will. We're going to dive into those and touch a little bit on this UGA scrimmage number 2. See what's going on with it and see what Georgia needs to move forward and prep for Clemson. Ben, how was your week, my friend?
It was good, Paul. How about you?
It was all right, man. It was all right. Had to move my mom this weekend, so we've been just running around town trying to get her moved into her new place. So doing that, doing this, everything in between. But, as we move forward, guys, if you're in the chat, we love to hear from you. Go ahead and put where you're watching us from, and we'll get to your questions in the chat as well. Phone line's always open, 706-363-3773. And Ben, big week for Georgia high school football. I've got some news and notes here on my notepad. Obviously, you had the game between Jefferson and Rabun County. And if you're not from the state of Georgia, you're like, where are those schools? Where are they located? Jefferson and Rabun. Jefferson's pretty close to Athens, and Rabun's kind of up in the mountains. Rabun plays in 2A, while Jefferson plays in 4A. But they did have an out-of-conference game, which showcased 2 Georgia commits. You had Malachi Starks on the Jefferson team, and Georgia's future at quarterback potentially, 5-star Gunnar Stockton at the helm for Rabun, and Jefferson pulled away. Now they're a better team, okay, and it's not because Gunnar Stockton is not good. Jefferson's 4A. They are making it to the state championship on a regular basis, at least at Final Four, and then Rabun County up in the mountains. You're not able to pick kids from other schools. You get what you get, right? But I want to throw some stats at you, Ben. They had Malachi Starks at QB, so he was playing.
They don't have a traditional passing offense. They don't really throw the ball at Jefferson.
Yeah, so they had one pass. Malachi Starks completed one pass, attempted one pass, did not complete the pass. But he had 14 rushes for 74 yards and a touchdown, and he had 4 tackles on defense. I could not find Gunnar Stockton stats. Coaches, if you're watching, update your max preps for us, please. We want to talk about your kids. Put their stats out there. One guy I can tell you about, Ben, is Sammy Brown, the head coach's son over there at Jefferson, who is a he's a sophomore this year. Yeah. Sophomore this year, 6'2", 205. Kid ran for 157 yards, had 3 tackles and a tackle for loss. Jefferson came away with the victory there. But Gunnar had some good drives. If you're a member of UGA Sports or obviously a subscriber of our UGA Sports YouTube page, you could see the Gunnar Stockton drive that he had. Had a really good drive, Ben. What was your take kind of? I know you weren't able to go to that game live, but just watching the stats and the videos that we were able to put up, what was your take on that game?
I watched majority of the game. I watched it on a stream, so I got a chance to see the game. Really, one thing stood out. First off, obviously, what you said earlier, Jefferson is 4A. Their defense is really talented. They got 2 5-star players on their defense, and they're obviously a higher classification. So it was hard for Gunnar. Gunnar hit some big plays. He had one overthrow. First off, he had a Tebow-like jump pass. It was like a 15-yard dart on a slant route for a touchdown. And he hit a deep ball later in that game, which they didn't end up scoring on the drive in large part because of Sammy Brown. But Gunnar hit, I think it was over 50 yards through the air. He just threw a dart downfield. And his arm strength, which is why I said that's the biggest thing for Gunnar when it comes to when he goes to Georgia, is I think he's going to have the strongest arm of all the quarterbacks. He is a cannon. and he had some big plays. He did have an overthrow late in that game, but Sammy Brown was the star of the night. Malachi Starks looked impressive, like a 5-star, but Sammy Brown was, I mean, for a sophomore to do what he did on both sides of the ball, he had a pressure. He should have had a sack on Gunner. Gunner barely got the ball out of bounds and out of his hands in time, and that's when it was 22-13, and Jefferson got the ball back where I think there was like just under 5 minutes left. So he basically made the play to seal it on the defensive side of the ball for Jefferson.
So it was fun to see, right? 2 Georgia commits. We got to talk to him after the game. Malachi Stark's super impressive in front of the mic, guys. Talked a lot about, being able to go up against Gunner. They tried to make the game not like it Starks versus Stockton, if you will, but that's what it ended up being. 2 really good kids, really good football. Good to see Georgia high school football back on. We've got some comments here. We've got Gerald Harmon throwing us some emojis. Takari's from Hull, Georgia. Landon Granger saying, has Vandergrift played any? We'll touch on that, Landon. Caroline Kemp says, Carson Beck's grandmother from Maryland. Well, welcome to the show, Miss Kemp. We're going to talk about your grandson here in just a little bit. Christy, go dog, she says. Martin Arenado, howdy dog fans from Omega, Georgia. Martin, as always, appreciate you. And let's see here. Hulk Hogan is here, and so is Christy. So pleasure to see you guys in the chat. Another game I want to touch on with you, Ben, before we get too deep into the scrimmage is we had Buford versus North Cobb. North Cobb came out swinging, and if you guys, like I said, are not familiar with Georgia high school sports, North Cobb had a ton of transfers come in from the really essentially just the Brookwood High School. Marquise Groves Killebrew, who is a Georgia commit, and also Denylon Morissette, who did not play in the game and is going to be out for, I think, a couple more games, unfortunately, because they're playing Milton next week, which I think is on ESPN, and he won't be playing that one. Neither will LT for Milton, so it'll be interesting to see where they put that focus on. But you have a Buford team that Jake Pope, who was a Georgia target, just committed to Alabama, and then Buford has a ton of other athletes. Like I said, North Cobb has a quarterback, Malachi Singleton, which Georgia's looking at, but North Cobb pulled out ahead early. Buford finished the deal 35-27. I saw somebody put Buford beat North Cobb and Brookwood at the same time, which is kind of wild. So, Ben, is what it is. Those were the few games that we were able to catch up on, this week 1 for Georgia high school football. We will be all around the state. UGA Sports will taking in games, getting interviews for you guys, and they'll be put up on the website and on the YouTube page. But what you guys were waiting for, what you guys want to hear about, is that scrimmage number 2. Ben, break it down for us. Obviously, again, guys, before Ben breaks it down, we can't watch it live, okay? We can't be there. Mm-hmm. This is third-party information, but we vetted these sources. We want to see, what you got, Ben.
Well, first off, the offense was way better in the second scrimmage than the first scrimmage, because I think that's what a lot of people want to hear. And then you also have the offensive line was maybe the biggest reason behind it. The offensive line in the run game was a lot better. The pass catchers, Marcus Rosemy had a great day. Jermaine Burton was finally out there. He wasn't at the last scrimmage. Kyrus Jackson was actually out there, but he was in a black jersey, so no contact. But he actually did, I believe, perform a bit. So they were healthier in this scrimmage. The offense was better. The defense, actually, Keely Ringo ran with the first team, not Amir Speed. So it's looking like Keely Ringo, as he continues, is looking to secure that other corner spot outside of Darian Kendrick. So that was one thing we were talking about last week, the position groups. I remember, or it was 2 weeks ago, we were talking about key position battles. And I think Keely Ringo, I know it's not set in stone, but I think it's he's a heavy favorite now to be starting a corner. So that's also a big development. And really the defense is still there. But, the offense this time, I think they opened up the playbook more, and guys like Adonde Mitchell and Brock Bowers and guys like that had bigger days, and the offensive line is starting to come together, especially Cedric Von Prawn, who may start at center game 1, it's looking like now.
Yeah, one of the big things I think everybody's looking for is the injuries, right? Tyke Smith, Darnell Washington both go down, same injury to their foot. Fitzpatrick has a foot injury now. What we thought was going to be a, position that was going to be a big plus for the Dogs against Clemson was that tight end position. We broke it down last week, Ben and I did, the positional breakdowns, and he kept harping on the fact, is Skalski for Clemson going to be able to cover Darnell Washington? Well, is Darnell Washington going to be able to play? So our sources indicate that it seems like he's a little ways out, but Kirby, he then reiterated it again in his press conference after the scrimmage, saying these guys are day-to-day. Some of them are practicing. Now, did he lump that in with other guys, and he's trying to maybe throw shade over Washington and Tyke? Who knows? But one thing's for certain, they need to have Fitzpatrick back for this game. And, as much as I've said throughout this whole offseason, I want to see it from Brock Bowers, we might have to see it from Brock Bowers week 1 against Clemson, Ben.
Yeah, which I actually really do want to see that. So you have to come on here, and after months of doubting this,
it's not doubting him.
Semi-doubting.
I just want to see it, man. I just want to see it. That's it.
Yeah, well, A.D. Mitchell's another one where I think some people he's gotten. I don't know what your opinion is on this, but he's gotten almost as much hype, if not more hype, during some periods of time than Brock Bowers. But I think at G-Day we saw it from him.
Right.
So I think there are some next, but also with him, the receivers, there's so many guys ahead of him where Brock, you're expecting him to play, given he's probably number 2, number 3 tight end.
Yeah.
Where Mitchell, has a lot of experience and super talented wide receivers that have been in the program for at least a year plus ahead of him. So, but with Mitchell, we've seen it. But I look at you do need Fitzpatrick because you need an experienced tight end that can block. I don't even think it's as much the pass game, which, yes, you do need him in the pass game. But you need tight ends that can block because, to me, the one clear advantage Georgia has over Clemson, which me and you agreed with, and we didn't even doubt it last week, was the run game. Georgia needs those tight ends for the run game. Yes, I need them for the pass game, too, for those mismatches, but the run game, that's where it gives Georgia an advantage, in my opinion, in a big way.
Yeah, and if you're missing Washington, potentially Fitzpatrick, I think that Georgia's going to do everything they can to get Fitzpatrick on the field. I don't think there's any question about that. You really need, obviously, Tyke Smith, but Latavius Brinney stepping up in that position. Guys, Brinney was there. Brinney worked out, well against Cincinnati, played great. He's a guy that's been around the program for a really long time. He was probably going to be your starter at Star had Georgia not been able to bring in Tyke Smith. So yes, it stings, but it's good to have a senior leader out there at that star position, if you will. Another couple notes to touch on, Ben. Amarius Mims. Kirby was asked about Amarius Mims. Smart said he's kind of been slowed due to some back issues, but he's going to be great. I kind of took that and just, from what I read, I took that as he's going to eventually play on this team this year. It might not be against Clemson. I don't know if you read that any differently or not, Ben. That was my take on that.
Yeah, I would agree.
They said they were able to get 120 to 130 snaps in for the game. That scrimmage type, both the 1s and 2s got 50-plus reps. Third team got 20 to 30. One guy, like we said, we were going to touch on, and his grandma's here in the chat with us, Miss Kemp, is Carson Beck, making a huge impact this camp. To be quite honest, because everybody thought Brock Vandagriff was going to come in, take that second spot, or heck, even Stetson, who had major game experience last year, take that second spot, and it seems like Carson Beck has really solidified himself as the backup for Georgia if anything were to happen to JT Daniels. Yeah, Ben?
I was just going to say real quick on Carson Beck. Him, from just everything we've heard and I've heard from over the last year, is his improvement has been drastically. He's drastically improved from when I think COVID kind of hurt him and a lot of players who are young, who I think otherwise, honestly, if he had a spring ball and more extensive time, he might have had a chance to jump in over Dwan Mathis and Stetson last year, especially with how he's looking now, where he's improved so much, which is going to make next year so interesting when you look at Gunner, the freshman, with a big arm. You have Brock, who everyone's going to say is going to have the highest ceiling because he's the most athletic. You're going to have Beck, the seasoned veteran, who they've seen it over and over again, who's experienced, who's trusted. That's going to be so interesting next year. And I think Beck right now, going into the season, he'll be the number 2 quarterback this season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Georgia fans kind of wrote him off, to be honest, because of Brock coming in and then Gunner coming in after Brock. But let's be honest, every time I turn on the Twitter machine and it's a vacation of some sort for the players, there's always a video of Carson Beck in the gym working out. The guy, he's in there throwing balls, trying to be that number 2 guy, and it's worked out for him. This spring and summer he's had a really good camp, and it seems like if anything were to happen to JT, Carson's going to be that guy. And it seems like, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but it seems like Monken and Kirby feel confident in Carson. So it'll be interesting to see. But I appreciate you coming in to chat with us, Miss Kemp, all the way from Maryland. Hopefully you'll come on with us in the chats after the game. We can get your opinion. Maybe get your opinion on all that. And there's Ben holding up his Maryland shirt for you there. Martin Arenado in the chat says, we need a whole new practice field. Seems like too many knee injuries happening out there. Bet they're using fake grass. Aren't they practicing at the University of Phoenix Stadium or something? But Martin, they were foot injuries this time, and I think it's more along the lines of the feet, plural, were stepped on. I think is what ended up happening there. It wasn't like the small bone at the top of the toe. It was like the middle bone and the toe. So I think it was more along the lines of just feet getting crossed up. Happened to be on. I mean, guys, I don't know about you, but like Georgia luck, as everybody in this chat is a Georgia fan. Georgia luck. I mean, 2 of your big-time guys that you want to see. Tyke Smith was going to get probably every snap at star against Clemson. And then Darnell Washington, I think, was going to be on the what? Stop it.
I disagree about Tyke getting every snap. Every snap at star.
Benjamin.
I think Brenny – well, no, just knowing Kirby, like last year, Mark Webb and Tyree Stevenson both were at the star. Brenny was going to take some snaps. He's going to rotate those guys.
Okay, but
like, that's a miss on Tyke, and it'll only be like 2 seconds. That was a miss. Obviously, Tyke being out is bad for Georgia. But to me, the one thing about Brenny versus Clemson is he's bigger, and we know Clemson has big receivers. So him being bigger and more physical, that could be a little bit better.
Okay, so we've got a phone call here, Ben. Hold on. I've got a question for you after that, though. You're on with Ben and Paul on the UGA Sports Call-In Show. Who do you have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Gerald.
Gerald, what's going on, man?
Hey, I was talking about the quarterback situation. Stetson Bennett be 4th on my tally pole if I had one.
No hate against Stetson, Gerald, but I do think he's probably 4th on the tally. What did you call it? A tally pole?
Yeah.
I think he's 4th on the tally pole in Athens as well, Gerald. So no love lost there.
That's Mountain Talk tally pole.
Yeah, I figured it was.
That means on the list.
Yeah, I know. I got it. I just wanted to make sure I had it. Yeah.
I just don't know. I keep hearing his name come up. Not saying y'all so much, but on other shows, they act like he's
Gerald, why are you watching other shows?
Well, watch all of them. I can.
Okay.
But it's like going in. He's giving second. He wasn't for me.
No, I think that he knows his role. He got a great opportunity last year to play for Georgia, represent the G, which he's always wanted to do, even when he was a walk-on, and then worked his way over to community college and then made his way back to Georgia. I think last year was kind of his high, right? And I think that what is next for Stetson, I don't know, but maybe a GA position. I think he could be a hell of a coach, something like that.
Now, a smaller college, right offense, he could be real good.
Yeah, throw him over there. Yeah. Throw him over there at like I don't know, Northern Iowa. Probably put up 40 touchdowns a game.
State?
Georgia State. Yeah, he'd be a good one at State.
I mean, until Georgia, nothing against JT Daniels there. I think he's a good quarterback, but till Georgia gets a quarterback that can move and that can run, that's when they're gonna catch up with the rest of the league.
Don't hate, Gerald. Jared, you're going to come on here week 1 after Georgia wins and JT throws for 420 yards, and I'm going to be like, Gerald, I told you. Don't hate on JT now.
I ain't saying it can't be done, but if you look at Burrows,
Yeah,
Jones,
you're right.
He had just had a good line. That's what you need if you're going to have a quarterback like that.
You're right.
Burrows, he could move when he had to.
Yeah.
Pick up yardage.
And I think, JT does not have wheels, okay? But he's got he's got like little tykes, like the little wheels you had like on your little, those things like the orange. It was the little car, right, that you had as a kid. No, but I'm serious. Yeah. Gerald, you know what I'm talking about? That car you had as a kid, and it was orange on the bottom.
That, but if y'all go back and watch his film at USC, the videos on it, he done some running there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He might not have wheels. He might not have, Nitto Ridge grapplers, that he can just run through everything. I got some Ridge grapplers on my truck, Ben. They're nice. They're really nice. But anyways,
the analogies today.
He doesn't have. Yes, Christy, thank you. A big wheel. Yeah, he's got big wheel tires. He can move. That's what I mean. Y'all acting like this guy's just quicksand, Gerald. He's not quicksand. He's got a little something in him.
Wait, Paul. So does Gerald want Brock? Are you meaning Brock Vandergrift? You're waiting until he starts because he's one. I mean, he's 4'6" flat. I mean, he's got wheels.
Well, Beck can run the ball. But let him.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if.
If he won't let him, that's part of it.
So
I mean, even Frum run the ball in high school.
Yeah, but Gerald, you would rather run the ball than JT air the ball out? I mean,
look at Mac Jones last year.
Mac Jones, yeah. JT is basically Mac Jones.
If you got a dual threat quarterback, you need to design some plays for him to run. Yes. For what use is he?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess, but he's not a dual threat quarterback.
Well, I agree. I agree
with
Gerald.
I'm talking about in the future.
Sure, yeah, you change the offense every year.
I agree with Gerald in this sentiment. If JT Daniels had legs, the playbook would be expanded more. It would make Georgia more,
yes, I'm just giving.
That's what he was trying to go with this. I still think JT. I agree with you, Paul. That JT could throw for 400 yards.
And I'm just.
First round pick. I agree with that, but I think that the main thing is he's just trying to say when you have an athletic quarterback, the playbook, it just makes it so much harder.
And I know, and I'm just playing devil's advocate to Gerald here. That's all. Gerald's longtime caller of the show. I'm just playing devil's advocate for you, Gerald. That's all.
Oh, I ain't saying he shouldn't be a starter this year. Don't get me wrong.
Never that, Gerald.
But if he's got a good enough line, he won't have to worry about too many sacks. But if they don't pan out, just look out.
Gerald, what was for supper tonight?
Meatloaf. but no, I mean, and on all these injuries and things, now people need to just calm down here a little bit. We got 2 weeks to go yet.
Yeah, true.
And it ain't like these guys ain't sitting around down there doing nothing.
No, yeah, I mean they're trying to get back.
They going through all the moves except for the receivers been out anyway, except for getting hit. But they get hit all summer long, you ask me. But or used to. I don't know about now. They baby them so much these days. But
oh, here you go, Gerald. Back in my day.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, might be.
It don't prolong their career no longer than it did then.
Right.
In fact, there's more injuries now than there used to be back then.
This is true.
This ain't got no meat on their bones, it's all muscle.
Yep. Gotta have a little meat, no muscle. Well, Gerald, it's been a pleasure, my man.
I named you 2 guys right now till they got in their 40s in baseball as pitchers, never on the injury list, and both of them 2 out of shape people I've ever seen.
Who's that?
One of them was guy like his name Foster pitched for the Braves and Dodgers. Another one's the one they call Big Sexy. They call him pitched for the Braves. They never went on the disabled list till he's in their 40s, late 40s. And they's the most shape people I've ever seen.
Lord have mercy. Gerald, I'm gonna end it with that. Big Sexy, you take it easy.
All right. Hey, y'all have a good night.
Yeah, man. You too, brother.
All right, bye.
See ya.
All right, Paul. So we went from Big Wheels to Meatloaf to Big Sexy Pitcher.
That's Gerald,
really
man.
You had to get some juice out of this stuff,
Dude, that's Gerald, man. Ben,
that
you
was
haven't
a good phone call.
Ben, you haven't been around long enough to know Gerald. Okay,
I know back in the good old days. Remember, I was
Gerald's from the mountains up north. And it is what it is. We got another caller, Ben. Hello, you're on with Ben and Paul on the UGA Sports Call-In Show. Who do you have the pleasure of speaking with?
Yeah, my name is Gerald, too.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I was the one who put the emojis up on the chat.
Whoa, what's going on? Oh, Gerald Harmon. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
How would we get two Geralds in a row? The chances of that, Gerald, are interesting. But how did Georgia get two of the same foot injuries in the same practice? So what's up, Gerald?
Yeah, I had something to say about this Clemson being ranked. I think they're like number 2 in the nation. And what I don't understand about the whole thing about Clemson, them being ranked ahead of Georgia, the way they played in the playoffs last year against Ohio State, they got torched.
Oh yeah.
They lost their starting quarterback, their starting running back. They are breaking in a new wide receiver group. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Georgia's returning a lot of guys from last year, and they're ranked number 5.
Yep. Yeah. To answer that question short, I think it's more of the media wants to see it from Kirby Smart and company. They've seen it from Clemson, even though they had a bad showing at the end of the year last year. They've seen it from Clemson before. We kind of touched on this last week a little bit because Ben and I broke down these position breakdowns, Gerald, and we said, look, Georgia's won all of them except for one for Ben and one for me. Why is the line still in Clemson's favor? It's a little recency bias, and I think it's more of you have to prove it to me with Georgia being at number 5, which, in all honesty, I think it works in the dog's favor. You come in as that underdog. If you're Kirby Smart, you tell your team, hey, look, we're the underdog in this game, or at least they think we are. Let's go out here and stomp them.
But it really, I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But in a fair world,
sure,
that wouldn't make a lot of sense. If you look at the way LSU came into 2019, if you had foresight, everybody would rank LSU number 1, right?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. It's like every season, you should just start from scratch. You should go by the players what's on your roster that you have. You shouldn't just go by what teams have did in the past. I mean, another one, Alabama, ranked number 1. They lost 70% of their offense.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps saying Alabama. They don't do something. They just reload.
They don't rebuild. They reload. Yeah.
Yeah, but still they have to prove it because when Tua went to the draft, they started Mac Jones. He lost 2 games his junior season before they won a championship in 2020. Last year, but they still lost 2 games. That's because they had to get on the field and play. You just can't write them in as champions.
No, yeah,
you can't just write them in.
Absolutely, and that's what that game in Charlotte's going to be, Gerald. I think it's going to be one of those games, put up or shut up for both teams. It's going to make the outcome of both seasons kind of flip-flop either way with that game.
I'm just on my soapbox.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. And the thing is, look, I wouldn't look at these rankings at all. If anything, if I was a Georgia fan, I would want to be ranked number 5 and not number 2 so that my team can feel like they're the underdog in this game and have a little bit more bite to them. I don't know about Ben. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I would agree. So. Also, I think if they win, they're in. That's something I was going to talk about earlier. I think if Georgia wins, they're in the playoff. I really do.
Yeah, I'm kind of like 50-50 with with Georgia not having a target on his back with the lower ranking. But when I see the teams that are ranked ahead of them, I think it's like 3 of those teams. All of those teams are breaking in a new quarterback. Alabama's breaking in a new quarterback. Clemson's breaking in a new starting quarterback. Ohio State, they're breaking in a new quarterback.
Yep.
How is that? How is all those teams that ranked ahead of Georgia, all those teams are breaking in new quarterbacks that didn't play a significant time last year? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I totally agree, Gerald.
Because you have to think about it. These teams, we're talking about the top teams in college football.
Yeah.
If we're going to rank the top teams in college football, you want the top teams to come back with some type of experience in that type of position, especially in the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, I mean, but at the end of the day, Gerald, I think it all plays itself out on the field, and that's what's great about it, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Gerald, I appreciate you calling in, and I want you to call back in more often, man. It was a good conversation with you, brother.
Yeah.
No problem. I just got to I'm kind of new to y'all.
Yeah, man.
I was just on YouTube, and then it popped up because I think I subscribed to y'all guys.
Awesome.
So I'll be calling in. Thanks
all
for
right,
having
man.
me.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You take care,
You
Gerald.
too.
It's good.
Gerald, a back-to-back Gerald, Ben? Never
Back-to-back
before
Gerald. Hey,
never
it's an
before
honor.
happened in the call-in show history. We had some comments come in.
Wheels, and now we got back-to-back Geralds. I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Somebody called in.
tonight.
Somebody called in while Gerald number 2 was talking. So if you want to call back in, give us a call. But Mark Lavinish says Clemson's returning a lot of talent and bringing back one of the best wide receivers that was out last year and the best D-line in the country. The O-line should be better too. Georgia has to take them seriously. I agree, and that kind of goes back to that point, And I see where Gerald was talking about. Yeah, why is it that they were ranked number 2 and Georgia's ranked number 5? But at the end of the day, these polls don't matter. Go see what's on the field the first week, and we'll go from there. Ben, we got a call. Thanks for giving us a call here at the UGA Sports Hotline. Talking with Paul and Ben, who we got the pleasure of speaking with.
Hey, this is Andre.
Andre, first-time caller, long-time listener, Andre?
Yes.
Andre, where are you calling us? Where are you calling us from, Andre?
Leesburg.
Leesburg. Okay. Leesburg, Georgia, home of Aubrey Solomon.
There you go.
Oh, really?
One of my favorite players of all time, Fundrell Quimbley, came from Leesburg as well. Nobody knows him.
Oh, the Publix cake? We're going to bring up the Publix cake?
Oh,
now
no, we're
with,
not doing that. But we're not doing that. But go ahead, Andre. Sorry.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about a lot of things that everybody's looking at with Georgia. Is that Georgia has always been 1 or 2 plays away from really doing something. And I think this is the year that we can expect a turnaround. If you think about in 2017, we had a lot of injuries then.
Okay.
And the same thing is happening now that happened then during a camp, and they came out on fire. So I expect the same thing to happen.
Why do you expect that?
Because, see, we're being overlooked. So what's
Yeah.
going to happen, everybody's going to have their guard down when they play us because they think we're going to be a pushover. You think about how the line started out in 2017. It was like all the new guys, they thought they could push them around, and then in the end, our line was whatever we worried about ended up being our strength.
No, yeah, I agree. I think, right now, Georgia's sitting in position to where after this Clemson game, I feel like they're going to be favored in every game that they go into, though.
By double digits.
By close to double digits, if not double digits
I
in
think
every one.
Florida, they'll be double digits. I don't see Florida competing as single position group as Georgia. I don't. I really don't.
I think your toughest game, Andre, is obviously your first game of the year, but in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter because it's not SEC? Yes, you want to win this game, and I think it matters more for recruiting. But
Right.
Overall, does this game matter at the grand scheme of things at the end of the year? I mean, I guess it could. You slip up and lose one. You slip up and lose one in the SEC and maybe lose SEC championship game, but you win against Clemson. That helps. But yeah, I think Georgia, they could be getting overlooked right now, but I think a lot of people in the media, the people that make these coaches polls or the coaches or the media polls are just looking at it like, hey, prove it to us. Show us something. And I think this is the year that they can do just that. You still with us, Andre?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You got anything else on your mind? What was for dinner tonight, Andre? Gerald said he had meatloaf. What'd you have?
I had spaghetti with
Spaghetti
meatballs.
with meatballs? Okay, my wife's cooking something down there. It smells amazing. I'm going to be getting that once we get off of here, Andre. Spaghetti with meatballs and meatloaf. Okay. What else is on your mind, Andre?
Appreciate it.
All right, man, take it easy. So we've had
I
meatloaf,
disagree
spaghetti
I
with
disagree
meatballs.
With your point.
Oh,
I had burgers.
you're talking football? Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I had burgers, but also I was going to say real quick, I disagree with your point about the Clemson game only meaning about recruiting. I think if Georgia beats Clemson, they are in the playoff. They are in. This is what I'm going to say it's because they're going to win all the rest of their regular season games, assuming they're healthy. If they beat Clemson, you would agree with that. Ohio State will play Oregon. Think about this: if Georgia beats Clemson, they have the head-to-head. All right, and you expect Clemson to win the ACC, correct?
Probably, yeah. UNC could make a run, but yeah.
So Georgia would have the head-to-head with the ACC and Clemson because they have that win. All right, so they're out. In a scenario that even if they lost to Bama, I'm saying Ohio State plays Oregon.
Okay.
I look at it this way: a loss to Bama in the SEC championship game with a win over Clemson, regardless of whoever that fourth team that wins a conference championship, their loss isn't as good, and they don't have a win as good as Georgia. So to me, Georgia would be one of the best four, and they would have a justifiable claim. They would have as good of a record as they made it the last time they made it in the playoffs. Georgia, I think, makes it in if they beat Clemson. In large part, like I said earlier, Ohio State plays Oregon. A Big Ten or Pac-12 team is guaranteed not to go undefeated because the rest of the teams in those conference, they're going to lose outside of Ohio State and Oregon. We know that. That's a fact at this point.
Studio One Live in the chat says, with these conference power-up wars going on, these games matter more than ever, especially for the ACC. That makes a good point. I like that point. Barry Anderson says, matters a lot. If Dogs lose this, we have to win out. Have to win 12 straight if we lose to Clemson, yes. He says. It very well could. I don't see a potential for Georgia if you lose to Clemson, you win out the rest of the year, and then lose the SEC championship game. I don't see a potential, unless college football just goes haywire, right? I don't see a potential for Georgia to get in the playoff that way. If they beat Clemson, though, to start off, go undefeated, losing the SEC championship game, there's a potential there for that. Ben, did we touch on everything we wanted to touch on tonight? I'm going to get Dave to give us a call.
I'll just say real quick, just so we actually do have recruiting news on here, that Luther Burden,
Luther Burden,
in the country, decommitted from Oklahoma. If you were checking the vault, I was talking about that for a while now, that Georgia had a very good chance at landing him, and that him sticking with Oklahoma, I actually thought wasn't going to happen that he stuck there. But it's between Georgia and home state Missouri, and I think Georgia has a really good chance to land him. But don't discount Missouri either. I think both sides are confident, and I think it's going to signing day. But that's a very big news considering going from everyone talking about receiver recruiting, you could get the number one receiver in the country. So that would change a lot of optics and everything.
Landon Granger has asked about Vandergriff a few times. And my apologies, Landon. I told you we were going to get to him. He's getting some snaps in the scrimmages. I don't see him, getting any meaningful time this year. Obviously, with Carson Beck kind of emerging as that number two potentially. Who knows, though? Vandergriff could potentially make his way up the depth chart throughout the season. As of right now, though, this is JT's team. You've got Beck fighting for that number two position. Vandergriff's still learning the offense, and it takes some time as quarterbacks, unless you're just thrown into the fire, so to speak, in that first year. It takes some time. So let's see. Joshua Hammond says, UGA by 10, JT, Brock Bowers, and Burton coming out party. Ben would love that. Ben would absolutely love that because he could rub that Bowers thing in my face. And again, guys,
I think you would want it too, though. Let's be real here.
And again, I would love to be wrong on that because that would mean that Georgia has a tight end that could catch the ball. But
I think you want everyone to go off but Bowers, so then you have the ultimate win. Let's be real here. I think that's
you said what now? Hold on, start over.
I think you want all the Georgia pass catchers to be dominant except for Bowers. So I've Paul's the one who's correct about everything. I think that would be the ultimate. Then you're the only one that wins.
No. The only way I win. You're right. Yes. But then Shannon Tindall gets like 10 tackles and 2 sacks against Clemson. Then I really win. right?
Yeah, then you really do win.
Those are my
I think
two.
Adam Anderson has to get like 60 sacks, or no, not 60.
Right,
like,
right.
45. Something
Right.
huge.
Um,
That's my guess here.
Martin Arenado asked in the chat, is Texas the favorite to get Manning in 2023? You've been following Manning's recruitment.
Okay, one thing I'll say is, I think I told you this. Arch, he's really early on, and he is a Manning, so he's going to approach it differently. So with that one, I don't think he really is giving, not that he doesn't care, but per se, he's really in the early stages of his recruitment, taking it slow. But if I had to give a top three, I would say Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas, but that could change drastically to the point where those three are out of the top three because there's so long to go, and it's such an interesting one. But those are the three schools early on I hear most. So Texas is at least in that top three with Ole Miss and fans on here, but obviously fans of Georgia.
Tristan West back in the chat with us. Hey, Tristan. He says this would be a great game because both teams are ready to roll. Clemson has a chip on their shoulder because of how they were physically manhandled by Ohio State, and Georgia also has something to prove. Let's see. String Gene says if UGA beats Clem, it'll be because of excellent defensive back play. Very well could be. Very well could be. Guys, when the season starts, we have one more Sunday show for you guys. And then when the season starts, we're going to switch over to a call-in show after the game. So, Ben, what time is the Georgia-Clemson game even? I'm sure it's prime time, right?
It's got to be 8, right?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Give me 1 second. 7:30. So, guys, we'll be on here. We'll be on here late. We'll be on here real late. Like I don't know, whenever the
11?
game. Whenever the game ends, like 11, we'll be on taking your calls. Hope to have a huge show. We'll stay on till as long as possible. 11, I'll throw on the TV over here and watch like Pac-12 After Dark, and we'll just have a good old time hanging out together, guys. One more week of just us hanging out, talking about a game that's we've been talking about for so long, UGA Clemson. That's going to be next Sunday's, the last Sunday show. Then we're switching over to a call-in show after the game. So Martin Arenado, I'm expecting you to call in. Barry Anderson, I'm expecting you to call in. Tristan West, I'm expecting you to call in. All you guys. I'm expecting all you guys to call in. And expecting people to call in would be Dave McMahon. I just texted him, so he should be calling in just a second to give us our UGA athletic stats of the week. Guys, if you have any other questions, though, put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. There is Dave himself.
Martin Arenado.
Dave, what's going on?
How are you guys doing, Paul? Ben, how are you?
We are good. We're good, man.
Got Gerald trivia or Meatloaf trivia or Big Wheels?
Gerald trivia. It was kind of funny with the back-to-back Gerald calls. Like that has to be a career high in Gerald calls.
It's definitely a career high.
But it made me think of Gerald Anderson, the defensive lineman from back from like 2002 to 2005. He was one of our better defensive linemen we've had in the early Mark Richt era, and then probably in recent years. But I was looking at his stats the other day, and he had like 29 career starts at least, and which in his last 3 seasons, which is pretty good. So it made me think of players that have started. And when I was looking at UGASports website the other day, Dash had a really good article on the offensive line. And Georgia's offensive line is basically Sawyer has 12 starts, Schaefer 12, McClendon 9, Erickson 3, Truss 1, and Condon 1. Those are only players coming back.
Sawyer only has 12 starts? Or is that last
12
year?
12 starts according to the media guide.
No.
According to the media guide, 12
That's
starts.
last year.
It says.
No chance.
You sure?
Last year, how many games did Georgia play last year? They played 11, correct? So he had 11 at least.
Yep.
And the first 2 years he might have had one.
And he started, according to the media guide, Sawyer started 10 last year and 2 in 2019.
Really?
That sounds right.
No,
Yeah,
because in
right.
2018 he played in 13 games too. There's no way. He started.
He's talking about starting.
Yeah, he started in
starting.
2019.
Yeah, he started 2 games in 2019.
2 games.
Somebody in the chat, help me out here. Keep going, Dave. I'm
Okay, so I was looking at players that. Can you name the 2 Georgia offensive linemen that have started 50 games or more? But it is exactly 50 games for Georgia in its history. Started 50 games, 2 offensive linemen.
How? Okay, give me some recent. How recent are we talking here?
How recent are we talking? Well, you got to think that players play a lot more games nowadays. This happened. Both happened within the last 15 years or so.
Oh man, John Theus.
John Theus is not correct. John Theus only started 48 games.
Wait,
Oh,
can
my-
you
Who-
read?
and started 50
Wait,
more.
most
And
starts?
starts for a Georgia offensive lineman. Two offensive linemen have started 50 games for Georgia.
Isaiah Wynn.
Isaiah Wynn is not correct.
How many did he have?
And who?
Stinchcomb?
Anyway, I'm not sure about Wynn. Which Stinchcomb are you talking about?
John.
Matt, I have no idea, but John Stinchcomb started 46.
Tristan West put Matt or John Stimcombe as one, and I don't know the other. So you're wrong there,
And you know
Tristan.
what? And you know what? The Stinchcombs are about the same players because they're both like awesome, dominating players that were incredibly smart and do broadcasting. So they're both
Barry
but-
Anderson. Hey Dave. Barry Anderson in the chat is saying Isaiah Wilson.
Isaiah Wilson is not correct. Now you also got to think on players
No,
early.
no.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You're not gonna get a lot. And Tom
He only started-
And Barry, you're wrong with
Tom
Andrew Thomas there too because he left early. Dang, the last 15
3
years.
They're both tied for fourth all time with players at Georgia history besides kickers. So these guys are tied for fourth all time, but they're tied for first amongst offensive linemen.
I feel like we can get this.
I mean, I do too, but
How long
I've
did Bowling play at Georgia? I know this is a random one. Or Ben Jones?
Ben Jones is not correct. Ben Jones had 49.
oh my god, David Andrews.
David Andrews is not correct. I don't know how many David Andrews had.
Oh man,
49.
Martin Arenado's saying Ben Cleveland.
Ben Cleveland is not correct as well.
Jeez, and you're saying the last 10 to 15 years.
Yes, well, that's 15 years.
I don't know, Dave. Give us one.
Okay, one of them is Clint Bowling at 50. Yep. Oh, Ben's going nuts. Yeah, Clint Bowling
I didn't say Clint Bowling, but then I switched.
and the
Damn.
other one is Cordy Glenn. Cordy Glenn had 50 as well.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Also, amongst offensive linemen was like Ben Jones, like I said, 49. Daniel Inman had 48, along with John Theus. Kevin Breedlove had 47, and John Stinchcomb had 46 among offensive linemen.
Dude, we were so
So I
close.
thought
We
that was
named
pretty cool.
three. We named three of the top 5. We just didn't get the top 2.
I knew those two guys were in the NFL. Bowling
Yeah,
on
I knew
the
they were both in the
Bengals,
NFL,
and
yeah.
Glenn was- I didn't know how many years they started. That was the thing. I kept thinking that.
Dang it.
And then I'm not going to, and this part is not going to be a trivia question because it's very difficult, but I was looking up, and I know it's not going to happen because Clemson's offense is way too good. But I was looking at shutouts and opening day to the seasons, like season openers,
right.
and Georgia's had 7 shutouts in non-home games, so basically neutral games and away games. They've had 7 shutouts in openers. The last time Georgia did that was in 2003 against Clemson. So that's what made me think of it. That was the last time they had it's the second to last time they've had a shutout in a season opener completely. They shut out Austin Peay a few years ago. But 2003, and I believe that's the last time Clemson got shut out completely. But the 2003 in a shutout on a neutral away game in a season opener. Before that, it happened in 1954 against FSU. So I mean, obviously Georgia doesn't play a whole lot of season openers not at home, but you would think that maybe a shutout here or there in the meantime. But no, Clemson in 2003, then FSU in 1954, Mercer in 1941, Oglethorpe in 1940. Before that was Mercer again in 1925. The 1909 before that, which is kind of odd because in 1909 Georgia tied the Citadel 0-0 back in Charleston. So that doesn't happen. The first time they ever.
You love a
I
good tie.
remember going to that game. Yeah, I do remember going to that game.
I was going to say, yeah, you were there, weren't you?
Sophomore.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the first time that Georgia ever had a shutout in a non-home season opener was against Wofford in 1896. You know who the head coach in 1896 was?
Wally Butts.
No, Wally Butts was later, much later than that.
I don't know. 1896, Dave? I mean, the country had been around for like 100 years. I don't know.
Yeah, but if it's a name you know, it's a guy named Pop Warner. So, Glenn Pop Warner was the head coach of that.
Dude, Dave, I'm telling you right now, this trivia that you've got us on, you've got us on like the A+ trivia. Like, can you bring it down maybe to like a B+? Like
a B. I'll call it B+.
That's how it's B+. I keep Paul's ass with the what's it called, the 10 straight wins. Paul
can you bring this trivia?
But the Ben reacts is probably worth like the price of the podcast. Ben had really good reacts.
Yeah, but I mean, damn, these questions, man. Pop Warner? How would I know that? Dave.
Well, come on. It's a big time name for Georgia history.
I mean, yeah, I guess 1896. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
But that wasn't. I mean, the trivia question was.
I know. Yeah, the trivia question you brought was nice. I liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Dave.
Okay.
We got
wait. The answer is a French dip with fries with a salad.
What?
Is that you give me your question?
Oh no.
What I had for dinner?
Yeah, but thank you. That sounds good. No, I was going to ask you though. Tristan West has a question for you, Dave, in the chat. He said, Dave, what was the name of the cornerback who was a walk-on, who was the star of that Clemson game in 2003?
The 2003 game, the walk-on?
Cornerback.
Was Trey Battle? No, Trey Battle played safety for that team.
Tristan, I hope you stump him. Tristan, I hope you stump him. Who is it, Dave?
2003 corner. I mean,
he said he was a star of that game. He said he was a star of that game.
Okay, it wasn't the Corey Bryant, I don't think. I may not know.
He's got to take a guess at least.
Because I'm trying to think of walk-ons at that time.
You got to take at least a guess. Tristan, put the answer in the chat so we know what it is, Tristan.
Is he guess it? Did he put it down yet?
He hasn't put it down. You still got time. Ooh, is that the answer, Triple Diesel? Okay. Dave, you're gonna get really mad once you know this answer.
Is Mikey Henderson? I don't think Mikey. I thought Mikey Henderson was a. I don't think he was a walk-on, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, Well, also because Mikey Henderson, obviously his most big game for Georgia, which I could think of. I mean, obviously he had good returns and whatnot.
What about Jennings?
Wasn't Jennings like a 2-star signee?
Yeah, but was he? Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think it was Mikey Henderson. Mostly was a.
Tristan's just gonna leave us. Tristan's just gonna leave us here without answering his own trivia question. My AirPods are at like 2% right now. Let's see, 2003
okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
UGA football team. UGA football.
Oh, I apologize for not. I mean, I don't claim to know everything, but
Dave,
but
you should know this.
I don't think it was
Dave.
Mikey Henderson.
Dave, you should know everything. I don't know why you don't. Let's see here.
If I had a cheat sheet, I could do it, but I'm doing this off my head. Like,
let's see. They want.
I mean, but Barry Anderson was Champ. Champ played in the late '90s and stuff like that, and he was definitely not a walk-on.
Champ was on the Redskins at that time.
All I see is Georgia won 30-0. Fred Gibson caught a pass for David Green. Billy Bennett kicked like 55 field goals. Let's see.
They had an interception. It doesn't say who picked it off. Wait, let me see.
Oh, okay.
Was
let me
it
see if I
Tom?
can
No,
find
not Thomas Davis.
This is
2000.
This is gonna get Dave.
David Pollock had the only interception in that game.
Huh. I don't know, Dave. Figure it out, and we'll.
And David Pollock was definitely up. Wait, he definitely played safety. Was it Trey Battle? I mean, he said safety now.
Tristan said he played safety that game.
I thought originally he said.
Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about, Tristan? Playing safety that game?
Yeah.
Charlie Whitehurst was a quarterback.
For Clemson?
Charlie Whitehurst was a quarterback for Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Clemson.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you got stumped.
I got stumped, but I want to know what the answer is. Listen, please allow it.
Yeah, we'll ask Robbie.
Yeah,
he won't know shit.
Dave's not gonna fall asleep tonight, Tristan, if you don't give him this answer.
I'm gonna be looking up. I'm gonna look at information.
he's gonna hit up
Tristan.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, Dave. We appreciate it. I'm sure it'll be in the chat. But
okay,
we'll holler at you next week, Dave.
I will do.
All right, man.
Guys,
See you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, man.
See you, Dave.
All right, guys. That wraps it up for us. We are going to wrap it up.
Good.
Yeah, great show, man. We went from talking about ridge grapplers to trikes and tykes and everybody's meal of the night, meatloaf, spaghetti, and meatballs. Dave had a French dip with fries. Guys,
I had burgers there.
Oh, Ben had burgers, and then
I
I don't know what we're having, to be honest. It smells good. I'll let
You're
you.
eating this late? Jeez, Paul.
It's because we gotta do the show, man. We gotta do the show.
I mean, you only before the show. You only at 6. What?
I don't know.
What are you?
Not old? I don't know. Quit hating, man. Anyways, guys, appreciate it so much. We'll see you next week for the last show, the last Sunday show before the big game. Ben, any last words before we head out of here?
I might have to go and eat some more dinner now that you keep bringing up salad and all this stuff. That's my last word.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. We appreciate every single one of you. I'd name you all, but there's too many to name. Appreciate Gerald 1 and Gerald 2 giving us a call tonight, and also Andre giving a call, too. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Stay safe, and we'll holler at you Sunday, 7:30 next week. Have a good one.
Have a great week.